Good morning and welcome to a Monday morning mailbag on a Tuesday afternoon. This is the walk off. I'm Scott Belford, joined as always by the best co host in the biz, Adam Mack. I'm back in Canada. I'm off the ship. I'm in my podcast studio, which is the term I'm using for my spare room these days. I've got a new webcam showing all of my mistakes and faults on my face, which is great. And
The
yeah,
the
there's Blue Jays news. And there's Blue Jays news.
If the hashtag Scott Unfiltered isn't trending on X by the end of the day, I'm rioting.
Riot.
Riot.
Buddy, the fact that I woke up this morning and something had happened, it almost didn't feel real. It's not like it was the hugest move or anything that
Buddy,
is going to.
I've been tracking Justin Turner's flight logs since
Yes,
Christmas.
that's right. Finally, all these flight trackings are paying off here for us. So honestly, a lot of the interaction has been from this morning. I've had DMs about it. We're going to get into it, obviously. We do comb through all your interaction every single week, and we do appreciate it. You can always reach out on Twitter, X, however you want to pronounce it, at Walk Off Podcast. On Instagram, the Walk Off Podcast. We go through the Discord as well, which is a Patreon exclusive. If you are a Patreon member, you automatically get the Patreon bump, and your comments and questions get into the mailbag no matter what. We appreciate all the Patreon members. Thank you. So let's get into it here, Adam.
Um. Okay. Yeah. I had an idea for a joke, and then I realized how bad it was. And for one of the first times in my life, I was able to catch the words before they left my mouth. So everybody, give me a round of applause. All right. That's
Hey,
good.
he did it.
Hey, we did
A
it.
little self-censorship goes a long way
Self
sometimes.
censorship. There we go. All right. So, yeah, let's start with the Justin Turner news and the comments rolling in on that. Obviously, loads of comments have gotten
Mhm.
sent our way, and appreciate all that. It is exciting. I mean,
I would,
good news
I,
or bad
I
news,
would,
no matter what side of the fence you're on with Justin Turner, something happened. Yay. This is good.
yes. And I would say that the overall sentiment has skewed a little more negative than I was expecting, but we'll get into it. Obviously, this first comment skews that way.
Yeah, so Nick DM'd us on Twitter and said, "Good morning, guys. This front office is unserious, bottom line. I can't believe they signed Justin Turner. What a nightmare. Why in God's name would they do what they do?"
Okay, so let's start with this. I think a lot of the negativity about this is because Justin Turner is 39 years old. He's definitely an old, dirt baggy dude. I love Justin Turner, and I have for a long time, but there's always that slippery slope when it comes to a guy in his late 30s. Listen, we all remember how excited we were about Jose Batista in 2015 and 2016. And then what happened in 2016, right? Edwin Encarnacion became a free agent. So did Jose Batista. They lose out on Edwin. And what did the Jays wind up doing? They wound up signing a 37-year-old Jose Batista to a 1 year, $17 million deal. That, bottom line, just didn't work out. That was where Jose Batista kind of slid off, and all of a sudden his age caught up with him. His injuries caught up with him. It happens to every single player out there, and 39 is definitely a dangerous age to invest in. Justin Turner making on a 1 year deal here, 13 million with $2 million in incentives and bonuses that he can hit. The Blue Jays need offense. So let's start with that. Okay. We're just going to go through Justin Turner's numbers last year and where they would have ranked amongst the Blue Jays. He hit
Okay.
a batting average of 276. That would have been good for second in the Blue Jays lineup. He had an on base
I love what
percentage
you're
of
doing
three.
with this, by the way. I love the angle you're taking here.
He had an on base percentage of 345, which would have been tied for first on this team in 2023. A slug of 455, that would have been second. An OPS of 800, that also would have been second. He scored 86 runs. That was good for second amongst Blue Jays in 2023. And RBIs, he had 96 of them, which would have been first. It would have led the team in runs batted in, and then home runs 23 he had last year. That would have been good for second on this team. So when you just look at it from that standpoint of an organization that desperately needed runs driven in and a little bit of power, Justin Turner provides that. And as long as Justin Turner doesn't fall off that age ledge, which fingers crossed he doesn't, right? If Turner still has another year in him, this is a really good signing. And I just wish to say that if the offseason ends with this, it is a failure. Now, that said, right now on the Toronto Blue Jays, IKF is going to play some third base. Justin Turner is probably going to play a little bit of third and a little bit of first. You've got Davis Schneider, Santiago Espinal, Cavan Biggio, all who are going to split time between second and third. You have Damiano Parmigiani, Aroldis Martinez, Addison Barger in third or in AAA that probably have, when it comes to just player development, probably progressed as far as they can in the minor leagues. They're going to need some time in the bigs. There are a lot of guys that are going to be vying for playing time at the hot corner, and this isn't a bad thing, right? As long as the Jays are going to be able to find a guy who takes the reins and runs with it. And Justin Turner provides a little bit of insulation. Okay, so Justin Turner played 66 games at third base in 2022, and then he went to a team paying Rafael Devers $300 million. So yeah, Justin Turner only played 6 games at third base last year. He's going to play more than that for the Blue Jays. Mm-hmm. Justin Turner is probably a below average third baseman at 39 years old. You're probably not going to want to see a ton of time logged there. And the ability to off-spell IKF in later in games, bring in a guy like Justin Turner who can take over the at-bat for him is not a bad thing.
Yeah. I don't know what
how
the actual
how this lineup is going to look. I don't know.
Yeah, the day-to-day lineup construction. I mean, that's for people smarter than us with more ironed khakis than we currently have on. I'll say statistically, I mean, you talked about that cliff that creeps up on a guy. It has been a decline in his offensive production in the later 30s of his career, but it's been a pretty casual decline. I mean, this is a guy who, in 2014, as a 29-year-old, had an OPS plus of 155. Hung around there until he was 33 years old, 151 OPS plus. Then it started to go down, 130, 133, 120, 120, 114 last year. Offensively, this is our best option at third base. It's not saying a lot necessarily. Offensively, better than IKF. Love Matt Chapman or hate Matt Chapman. Is a better bat than Matt Chapman has. Matt Chapman. Here, let's look at I know batting average isn't the best stat. Chill, okay? Chill in the comments on this. But we're looking at batting average. Justin Turner hit 276 at 38 years old last year in 146 games for the Red Sox. 278 the year before, 278 the year before, 307, 290, 312, 322. 275, 294, 340 is his career high batting average with his first season with the Dodgers. My point here, 276, if that's the low water mark for batting average out of Justin Turner. Do you know how many seasons Matt Chapman had a batting average of at least 276? Once. It was his full first season in Oakland. He hit 278. Would I rather have Matt Chapman for 1 year than Justin Turner for 1 year? I don't know. Defensively, for sure. But I also don't think Matt Chapman's signing anywhere for 1 year. So I don't know. 1 year deals.
And
I
if he
love
does,
1 year deals,
and
man.
if
I love
and
1
if
year
Chapman,
deals.
honestly, if Chapman is still on the market and is possibly taking a 1 year deal, I think the Blue Jays are still in on him. I don't
Yeah.
think the signing of Justin Turner is going to change the fact that they probably need somebody at third, maybe. Like it depends on how this front office is looking at this. Like obviously they might be planning on doing a third base through committee type of idea here for
I'm so
2024 and seeing if someone takes the reins, right?
just how many positions can we do that at? Like honestly, this is the frustrating thing with this Blue Jays team. I mean, the pitchers are good. We got Vladdy at first. He's our first baseman. Bo's our shortstop. Beyond that, we have what, 5 outfielders? I know, like, you need a 4th outfielder, and you don't want to see Raimel Tapia out there, but like, just it does feel like, oh, we're talking about Dalton Varsho, and well, we could platoon him against lefties. And second base, what do we have? Espinal, Biggio, Davis Schneider. IKF
Kind of the
is going to
same.
see time there, and at third, splitting with
Justin
Justin
Turner
Turner.
can play some second as well. Like this is the thing, man, is that the infield is feeling like it's going to be by committee, and that does
It's
make
so
me nervous.
sloppy. It's so tough, I think, for guys to get in a rhythm when they're only playing once or twice a week.
But we saw this last year with second base as well, Adam, right? And I mean, Merrifield just kind of took second up until the middle of the summer when he cooled off, and then everyone was like, well, now who's playing second base? But
so we got 5 outfielders, we got 5 second basemen, we got 3 third basemen, we got 2 catchers, which is fine. Even our pitching is by platoon. We got freaking 5 starting pitchers. Okay, that was a joke. I just want more.
Common sense would say there is another shoe to drop. With the kind of coverage that they have at the hot corner, there is value. Like, let's face it, man. We just watched what Jorge Polanco wound up the return for Polanco from the Twins, which was a very admirable return. Okay. A couple higher end prospects, a top 10 pitching prospect, and then Anthony Descalfani. I always mess up his name there. But a guy who's a viable inning eater and a bullpen piece. That's not bad. That's not bad for Jorge Polanco, who honestly, I think the Mariners, excellent move by them, getting a switch hitting guy who can play all over the infield, who's going to be able to have speed and on base percentage to be at the top of that order. I think that's great. But it does show you there is definite value to be had on middle infielders, an area in this year's free agent market, which is weak. So is there going to possibly be a suitor for a Santiago Espinal, Kevin Biggio, or even maybe a guy like a Aroldis Martinez does have a higher value as a prospect at this point, who's knocking on the door of a big league contract or big league everyday playing time, I should say. I think it's out there. Is something going to happen? I don't know. Like, again, I stated this right at the beginning when we were talking about Justin Turner right off the top, right? I'm happy with this move. I just do not want this to be the last addition to this team.
Yeah, I don't think it is. I don't
think it can be. Like Adam, this is what has been spent so far. The Jays have spent $49.5 million this offseason in free agency. Chad Green, $10.5 million. Kevin Kiermaier, $10.5 million. IKF, $7.5 million. Yariel Rodriguez, $8 million. And Justin Turner, $13 million. That's, by the way, $49.5 million is per year. So that's the AAV. So they've added 50 mil. They're just a little below the first luxury tax. If they add anybody else, they're probably over it. They were over it last year, so they doesn't mean that it'll stop them from going over it. They better.
All of these platoons we have all over the field, It reminds me of an expression from football or from hockey. With hockey, it's goalie related. With football, it's quarterback. Competition is good. You want competition, internal competition for a job. But if you've got two quarterbacks, really you've got zero quarterbacks. If you got two goalies, really you don't have a goalie. Like you want a guy, and that's how it's frustrating to go around our lineup and be like, oh, we have 3 third basemen and 5. We don't have a third base. We don't have a second baseman. We don't have, so it's good. Maybe David Schneider takes the ball and runs with it. But it's like, I just don't know how many spots in your lineup you can say, well, hopefully someone takes third base and runs with it. Hopefully someone just steps up and is an awesome left fielder. If everybody else was spoken for, if we had gotten Cody Bellinger for the outfield, and it's like, well, okay, we got Bellinger and Varsho and Springer. And barring bad tacos, that's our guys. We'll mix in some rest days, but whatever. That's the outfield. Third base, we've got whoever it is, right? Second base, okay, that's a toss-up. I can live with a toss-up at one position. I feel like it's a toss-up at 3 positions right now, and that's
I still want Cody Bellinger. I still want Bellinger in this lineup. In fact, after seeing them sign Justin Turner, I'm like, oh man, who would really, really shore up this offense would be a big lefty bat, and that's Cody Bellinger. And I'm even with Justin Turner, this is going to be an offense by committee. You can already tell this is the way that this team has been set up, right? How many 20 home run hitters are there on this team, right? Like starting with Springer, hopefully, fingers crossed, he crosses that 20 home run line this year. Bo Bichette's going to hit over 20. Vladdy is going to hit over 20, even if he has another horrible year. Yeah. Justin Turner should hit over 20.
If he's playing full-time.
And that's another thing to give Justin Turner some credit for. He's 39 years old. He played 146 games last year.
Yep.
So he's going to
runs.
play.
Yep.
23 home runs. Almost 100 RBIs.
Yeah.
When you compare this lineup to what they were doing last year, it's kind of surprising. Like Turner is number 1 or 2 in almost every single offensive category. Which does speak a lot to how shit that Blue Jays lineup performed last year. But also in a free agent market where you need offense, the Jays went out and got it.
Yeah,
there's risk to any signing.
Well, I mean, it's better than putting all your eggs in the Ohtani and Bellinger baskets and then coming away totally empty-handed. These are the unsexy signings that we talked about in November that are going to be necessary, but hopefully not the entire picture. And it's going to be tough to say this offseason wasn't disappointing if we don't come away with a more significant piece than Justin Turner.
One more significant piece. So. Absolutely. Tough to disagree with that. Let us know in the comments, everybody. I know this is a big happening. And when I say a big happening, I just mean in comparison to what has happened so far in the Blue Jays landscape, this might be the biggest move to date. Definitely the most expensive move anyways.
So Johnny on Twitter says, Justin Turner, next up, Michael A. Taylor. I didn't even realize Taylor was so good against lefties until I looked up his stats over the past few seasons for outfielders against lefties. He's up there with the best. It's probably a matter of playing time for him, but I think it could work. Varsho could shift to right sometimes if Springer needs a breather. He could play every game against lefties and plenty of pinch hitting chances.
Michael A. Taylor is a really interesting option for their 4th outfielder because he is so defensively sound. Some of you will remember he pretty much single-handedly put the sword through the Blue Jays' heart in that Minnesota Blue Jays wild card series, making incredible plays in the outfield, probably saving a couple of runs that would have tied the series up. And yeah, you look at his numbers against lefties, and it is eye-popping, actually, because I would have never kind of put Michael A. Taylor in that category. Can the Blue Jays pick him up on a shorter term? What is Taylor after for term? I think that's probably why he's still a free agent, is that after the season he had last year, hitting over 20 home runs, he had a career year when it came to offense. Again, has always been very good in the outfield. And if you look at where he would fit with the Blue Jays, he does kind of fit into the team strategy of offense by committee, defense first. I don't know if it's exciting. Like I know Johnny's really high on him. He's been messaging with us about Michael A. Taylor for a couple weeks now. Adam, do you have Taylor's numbers up by chance?
Yeah, I mean, he did hit 21 home runs last year, and he did it in only 129 games. So probably add 5 or 6 more on a full season. A 220 batting average last year.
Yeah.
Doesn't get your dick hard. OPS plus 94 last year.
Yep.
Not quite a career year, believe it or not. In 2017, he had an OPS plus of 104. That's the only time in his career that he's had
He was above average.
an above average OPS offensive player. Does have a Gold Glove. He is a World Series champion with the Washington Nationals. Small role with the team that year.
Do you have his numbers against lefties?
I don't have his numbers against lefties. No, I'm not that prepared. I could.
Yeah, why don't you do a quick
little ramble while you cover the bases here? But the gist of it for me when it comes to this is I'm so not interested in a 32-year-old defensive specialist. Like it doesn't.
What Michael A. Taylor would be is if they were hard in on Bellinger, lose out on him. He's literally a Cody Bellinger replacement in the way he fits in my brain.
Okay. That's I mean, that's like saying Justin Turner is a Shohei Ohtani replacement. We missed out on Shohei, but we got Justin Turner.
What do you do? If you can't get Bellinger, that's where the cog would fit, right? An outfielder that hits lefties.
Okay, he hits lefties. Numbers versus lefties for his career. 256 batting average. OPS 746. It's an OPS plus of 118.
I know it's underwhelming, Adam. I'm just saying that if you're not going to get one of the big guys left, Cody Bellinger really is the biggest name on the free agent market that would still fit really well with this Blue Jay team. Then you still need to fill that need in some way. Michael A. Taylor could be that guy. Again, this platoon splits righty lefty plugging and guys.
Baseball's getting too cute, man. Too cute.
It could be. It could spell disaster.
Who's left for outfielders then? There's nobody left. Cody Bellinger.
I mean,
Jorge Soler.
Yeah, Soler. And again, Soler is, to call him an outfielder is definitely generous, but
sure, okay.
He can log some time in left, sure.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's not a lot of options. Shit, eh? It's pretty thin. Peterson's off the board, yeah.
It wouldn't make any sense to bring in JD Martinez at this point because you just know Justin Turner is going to log the majority of the time at the DH spot. Justin Turner, definitely the replacement for Brandon Belt. IKF, the replacement for Whit Merrifield. Who's replacing Chapman right now? A huge question mark there.
Damn, eh?
I was trying to come in all positive here. And like, the more we talk about this, the more I'm like, oh, they got to do more. They've got to do more, man. They can't just call this a day.
Yeah, I don't know what to say here. Oof, it is bleak. Who's in our outfield right now for us? We got Varsho, Springer,
And Kiermaier.
and Kiermaier. Yeah. Oh my God. The idea of adding another defensive specialist to the outfield. Ooh, that's rough. That's rough. Total outfielder home runs for the Blue Jays in 2024. Over under 50.
Fuck, it better be over. It better be so over. Like,
Man, I'm looking at like maybe 25 from George Springer.
yeah.
15 to
10.
20 from Varsho, maybe. Then you
I
need
mean,
another
Varsho's a
5 to
question mark.
Yeah,
10,
I know.
10 from KK, and then anywhere, like Varsho could be anywhere between 10 to 30. Like, he hit 27 2 years ago, and what did he hit last year? 17, 18?
Yeah. Yeah.
16?
This team is in rough shape, man, but I don't know. We've come into the season with high expectations, and it hasn't gone well. So maybe the front office is thinking, you know what? Let's come in with low expectations and then see how that does. I don't know. It's tough to be excited about this roster as it's currently constructed. I'll say that.
One thing I will say that was interesting is Bo Bichette,
especially in the AL East.
Yes. So one thing to keep in mind is that Blair and Barker had Bo Bichette on the show a couple weeks ago, and two names that Bo Bichette brought up was JD Martinez and Justin Turner. He said these are two guys that if they were added would be a huge addition and would really help the team with stuff like mental blocks and just having that sort of experience. The fact that one of those two came to fruition, and again, I want to say that JD Martinez doesn't really make a ton of sense here because Justin Turner is going to be taking the majority of the spots at DH. But maybe you can convince JD that.
Hold on.
So
hold on.
If
you think Justin Turner is our primary DH this year?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, I've got him as our full-time third baseman.
Oh no,
I've got him at 130 games at third base.
Okay, that's insane. I would bet.
What you think? You think we're better off having Isaiah Kiner-Falefa at third base?
Defensively, yeah.
All right. Give me a lineup where.
Hold on. Let me.
No. I can't. Okay, go ahead. Fine, you win.
Okay, so Justin Turner plays 60 to 70 games between third, second, and first. He plays 40 games at DH. Pencil him in 120 games all year. He's 39 years old. You bring in JD Martinez. He has 100 games in the DH slot. You play him in left field for 10 games, and somehow he gets up to that 120 games as well. They're both old, but they both can provide some real thump. And if you need them both in the lineup, it works out really well. I'm all for JD Martinez still being on this team. I'm not sure exactly. It would get pretty messy on how you get him in there, but
the less IKF I see this year, the happier I am. I know we gave him $15 million guaranteed over 2 years. I'm not worried about forcing him into the lineup, especially at that price. If he loses his job to Davis Schneider, I do not fucking care, even one little bit, that we're paying $15 million to a guy to not play. That is fine. I think best case scenario, we wasted money on IKF.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, we're glad we have him. I don't know. He's a second baseman for me. I want Turner at third. Oh, that's such a gross thing to even say.
I'd rather IKF at third and Turner at second when it comes to just the defensive liability.
Okay, sure, whatever. I would rather a lineup where we have a guy like JD Martinez or someone who can be a power bat in the DH spot. If it means Turner's got to play third and IKF's got to play second, split time with the other guys, rather than we don't have JD Martinez and IKF and Turner are both full-time guys. This is such a fucking bummer of a lineup right now, man.
It still feels like this team
Oh my
doesn't have a
God.
cleanup hitter.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I keep in my eyes, Vladdy's our cleanup hitter. I don't know. It's
I guess,
but then we
maybe,
don't have a
yeah.
third hitter. I don't know, but I know he'll just hit third because then you get the extra at bats out of him and whatever. I don't know. It's fucking team's a bummer right now, man. It's so bad offensively. Like,
It could be far, far better than we're giving it credit for, though. Like if there's a couple rebounds in here, we're fine. But yeah, you're right. It am I super excited about this lineup? I don't know. No. It doesn't
yeah.
feel fixed. Okay. I think that's where we're coming from right now. Is this lineup had some major holes in it, and it doesn't feel like those were plugged to the full extent that they need to be plugged. Another shoe dropping, like honestly, man, Jorge Soler coming in also. Who knows? Like maybe that's the way you go. You bring in Soler, who is a definite liability in the outfield, but can play some outfield. He's in there as your bat. If you need to bring in KK off the bench or Varsho off the bench or Springer off the bench or whatever to relieve him in that later in the game, maybe that's the way you go. I don't know how the Blue Jays are viewing this lineup, and maybe it'll all just kind of clear up once we hit spring training and we know who the cast of characters is. But it just feels like the signing Justin Turner brings just as many question marks as it solved, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I like Justin Turner. I think a little dirtbag presence is not a bad thing. This is the guy who's been through the trenches, has a World Series ring, 39 years old. I mean, there's lots of reasons to like this signing. It's just it better not be it. Like if this is it.
Orioles will be just as good as they were last year. Give or take 5 wins. They're still a 95-plus win team, I think. Tampa Bay is going to Tampa Bay. They'll be good. Yankees improved a lot. Just from two names off the top of my head, they minused Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, boom roasted, and they upgraded a Juan Soto.
Mm-hmm.
All 3 of those teams are better than the Blue Jays.
We'll see.
Maybe Manoah bounces back. Maybe he's a Cy Young guy. We're still asking for a lot of the rest of our starting pitching staff. I think Gary Gossman can still be a Cy Young candidate. I think he's just like as good as it gets in baseball. Jose Barrios.
Gary G to the moon, baby.
Gary G to the moon. Jose Barrios, I don't know what to expect from him. He was so good last year. I was so impressed.
Career year for Kikuchi. Whenever there's that career year asterisk, it's a scary endeavor.
It's a scary, yeah, right? Yeah, exactly. So even Chris Bassett, like I loved everything we got out of him last year.
Amazing. Just 200 innings pitched. Come on.
Solidified that rotation in such a big way. So there's definitely room for Alek Manoah to improve and be better. We know what he's capable of. We just also have 3 guys who could also regress just as much as Manoah rebounds. That's a scary proposition to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if Vlad is 2021 Vlad again and whatever, like there's whatever.
Shit, dude, but if Vlad is 2022 Vlad, it's going to go a long way. If Vlad hits 36 home runs.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see. It's going to be right now. I feel like this is the darkest timeline so far, though. This is not good. Should I shave a goatee for opening day? Should I do that?
If there's no more,
if there's no more signings, I'm doing a full evil Spock. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Okay. Let's get going here with this mailbag. Scott Carter says in Patreon, What well-known players will have to call it quits this year because no one signs them? Josh Donaldson comes to mind for Scott Carter.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking at the list of old as balls free agents. Joey Votto, over 40. Zach Greinke, over 40. Yuli Gurriel,
Yeah.
39 and a half years old at first base. I think those are probably the biggest candidates in my books.
It's going to be interesting. I think Josh Donaldson is a good bet. He'll be forced into retirement, which is 0 offers. There may be other retirements, like Brandon Belt could retire, but I don't think that would be because he had 0 offers. I think it would just be that it wouldn't be an offer that he wanted to pursue and was fine with just hanging him up. I feel the same way about Joey Votto. I don't think there's a scenario out there where Joey Votto doesn't get an offer. It's just, is that offer enough to keep him in Major League Baseball?
The thing I've been reading with Joey Votto, though, is he wants regular playing time.
Yes.
And I just don't know who's going to give him regular playing time. I mean, I can see giving him $7 million, $10 million to like, hey, you're our extra bat off the bench. You're our backup first baseman. I just don't know if he wants to, go to Milwaukee to play behind Rowdy Tellez, So
and well, who's in Pittsburgh now? But I get what you're saying.
Sorry,
absolutely,
thank you.
Yes, yes. So to answer the question, I would go with Josh Donaldson. I think Scotty Carter kind of got it right out of the gate there in his own question. But yeah, no, it is going to be interesting. There are some guys. Yuli Gurriel is another dude who's. It is possible. Maybe there just isn't a suitor out there for him at this point in his career.
Next one from Patreon comes from Wyatt, who says, might be a sore question, but are Garth and Craig still a part of the walk-off gang? Haven't seen Garth since the Bass stuff, and Craig isn't the host of Locked On Jays anymore. What's going on? Scott, you got info here?
Start with, not a sore point at all. We love both those guys. Garth and Craig have done nothing but contribute to the success of the walk-off for years now. Both long-term members of Long Toss, a show that we will get back up and running here as we get into the 2024 season. We always like hearing from other content creators and other analysts and stuff like that. So what they have provided over the years has been fantastic. Garth, I don't know if he's coming back. He reached out to me on my birthday last week and just kind of was like, hey man, thanks again for everything that you guys did and giving me an opportunity to say my piece, and all the best going forward. I'm still rooting for you guys, all that sort of stuff. He's still up there in Northern Ontario slinging swag with his retro store out of a trailer, fishing in the summer, doing his thing. So all the best to Garth. And as for Craig, you know what? We did the live podcast in Toronto. I was there with him in September. And after that, that was kind of like his big swan song ending. He decided that it's a lot of work to be a content creator.
It's a young man's game.
Locked On Jays was something that was daily, and he had a full-time job on top of that. Locked On Jays doesn't pay all that well. We don't need to get into the details there. It's fine. It's what it's what a podcast pays. But yeah, he just decided to move on from that. So you know what? All the best to Craig Ballard, whether you liked him, hated him, loved him, whatever it is. He was always there every day producing content. Tip of the hat to him for that, So there's the update on Craig and Garth.
They are both more than welcome back on Long Toss or on whatever. It's I love both those guys. It's podcasting is a grind. There is no glory in it, and it will eat your soul as fast as it can.
Unless you're Johnny G of Gate 14, there's literally no glory.
There's no glory. Yeah, there's glory for some, just not for most. Yes. But yeah, no, kudos to both those guys, and love them, and they're always welcome back. And I'm sure they'll be back in some small role at some point, whether it's sooner or later. There you go.
Yeah. Whether it's a random Sunday in the middle of July on a long toss, or whether it's just catching up over the off season. I'm sure you'll see both of them at some point here.
Okay, this week we had your Scotty Mitchell conversation came out on Friday. Lots of good positive feedback on that. Russ Moore says, great interview. Nice to hear a guy that's not all hype and presents a realistic viewpoint. Wonder if that's because he doesn't work for Sportsnet. Jordy says, this was such a good episode. Scott McCutcheon says, loving the Scots. And Cost 7569 says, I didn't know TSN covered baseball. So there you go. There you go. All good points. Last one that we'll get to today, and then we're out of here, is from Tim Butler. Commented on that Scotty Mitchell interview and said, pump Chapman's tires all you want, but your third baseman still needs to hit, especially if he wants all that cash. So I know you responded to him already in the comment section. He made a point of clarifying that he was referring to what Scotty Mitchell was saying about, obviously Matt Chapman is great defensively, but still, he hit a pathetic 173 in high leverage situations. And for the money he wants, that's simply not good enough with the bat. So I just wanted to say, first of all, asterisk, hitting in high leverage situations, I'm skeptical of how all these formulas are calculated, and your definition of a high leverage situation versus my high leverage situation versus what the formula ratio a website wants to put on it, it's so objective. So I'll say that. But looking at Fangraphs and how the Blue Jays did in high leverage situations, and some numbers were surprising to me, and I wanted to bring these to your attention. So I know I'm just waiting for good old Tuesdays with Johnny to comment and complain about the sample size and the selection of years that I'm pointing out here. But Vladdy, over the last...
I was just going to say, this is going to upset so many people because Vladdy's going to be one of the best in high leverage situations.
Okay, so he is always pointed out by the most vocal part of the fan base is that Vladdy's not clutch. He never comes through when we need him, right? So over the last 3 seasons, his batting average in high leverage situations, 331. Would you have guessed it was that high?
No. Well, I mean, I knew what it was, so yes, but no, I wouldn't. When I first found out that he was a pretty clutch guy, I was like, oh, it didn't feel that way, but my feelings are irrelevant when you look at the numbers. So
I'm sure I also know there's going to be people commenting that high leverage doesn't equal clutch, and there's going to be whatever you want to put spin on it. I'm just saying. Last 3 years, and yes, it was the highest in 2021 when he had his MVP run or whatever, but it's been high ever since. It was like 350, 340, and 320 the last 3 seasons. So still, he's whatever. Bo Bichette in the last 3 years, 287 in high leverage situations. So still good, but again, 331 is like,
it's clutch.
Really good.
It's very good. Yeah.
So. Davis Schneider, obviously small sample size for him, 154 in high leverage situations. So for whatever that's worth. Danny Jansen, still not the best in high leverage situations, but early in his career, batting 150 in high leverage situations. The last 2 seasons, this is since he's had the turnaround and the new approach and the Marcus Semien influence.
Mhm.
250 over the last 2 seasons. So it's been a significant uptake. I know it's still
Mhm.
not 331, but I mean, he's added 100 points to his batting average in high leverage situations. Pretty good. Also, his home run rate in high leverage situations, he's hitting a home run once every 11 at bats, which is really good. Vladdy, in that same high leverage situation, 1 home run every 20 at bats. So,
Okay.
Danny Jansen hitting hard, even in high leverage situations. Last guy here, Cavan Biggio, because I'm a simp for Cavan Biggio. In his career, other than 2021 is the bottom barrel of Cavan Biggio. That is the season in which he filled in for us at third base, right? And it really had negative consequences on him. So other than that season, if we take that out, you can argue whether that's a fair thing to do or not. I'm arguing I'm gonna. Batting average in high leverage situations, Cavan Biggio, other than 2021 for his career, 281.
Okay.
Pretty good. And an on base percentage in that same sample size of 430.
Adam, let's get really crazy here.
All right.
What is Justin Turner's high leverage,
Justin.
runners in scoring position numbers look like? Because this was one of the big things that everyone was saying when it came to a free agent. They needed a guy who is going to not be Matt Chapman and swing through 92-mile-an-hour fastballs dead center. Does Justin Turner provide that?
Justin Turner, for his career in high leverage situations, 296 batting average.
Yes, please.
You'll take that. Even in the last 3 seasons, right? Because we're saying, okay, now he's old, though. Right? Now he's old. Even across the last 3 seasons, this is age 36, 37, 38. His average in high leverage situations, 320.
Hey.
Getting better with age.
And again, listen, and there are people out there who are going to say that runners in scoring position is a fluke stat when it comes to a big enough sample size. It might be, but you don't get to call someone not clutch and then not acknowledge when there are clutch guys. You either believe in the numbers or you don't believe in the numbers. It's either all fluke or it's none or none of it's fluke.
Agree.
We'll end it on that.
All right, cheers. That's mailbag for today. Everyone in Patreon, reminder, we've got our meeting for Around the Horn, the TV series we're working on. That'll be tomorrow on the Patreon. So a lot of exciting stuff to talk about for that. So make sure you don't miss that episode.
Another quick reminder, too, that I know there's been a few comments recently as to the interviews have slowed down. Do you guys have guys coming up? Yes, we do. Actually, we've got quite a few.
Kirby Sneed will be out tomorrow, by the way, on
Kirby
YouTube
Sneed?
and Spotify. That one's up on Patreon already, but that one will be out for the public tomorrow.
I wish to give a little bit of a tire pump here to the Kirby Sneed interview because he was so forthcoming with what is going on in Oakland there. Of course, Kirby Sneed spent time in that 2021 Blue Jays bullpen. He made his major league debut with Toronto, came up through their system, was drafted by the Jays and developed by the Jays. He was in that big trade for Matt Chapman 2 years ago, along with Kevin Smith and Gunnar Hoagland and who was the last guy? Anyways, it's escaping me. But he really gets into what it was like playing in Oakland, what the dynamic was in the clubhouse, playing for a team that it was so obvious they were in a rebuild, and what the mindset of the players was. It was honestly so interesting and something, if you're into inside baseball, that's an episode full of it. We have Hagen Danner, Haggy D, coming back on the show here. Of course, he made his major league debut with the Blue Jays last year, pitched 7 pitches, and then got injured. Like literally, I'm so curious as to the mental approach that young man has taken over the last few months, because I can only imagine how difficult of a scenario that was to deal with.
I mean,
Damiano Palma. Oh, sorry, go
so
ahead.
I was just gonna say on that, positives are it wasn't an arm injury, it was an oblique strain, and if it had happened earlier in the season, probably could have come back from it. Like if it happens in May, he probably recovers. We get a chance, but where it was in the season, late August, middle of a playoff push, roster crunch time, what all this. So, yeah, but what a tough thing to go through. Hey, you grind it out. Was a catcher. Jays say you're not a catcher anymore. Either learn how to pitch or we're done with you. So he learns how to pitch, grinds it out, throws 100 miles an hour, finally gets his debut, and then for it to end like that so quickly, I can't wait to talk to him. So that'll be good.
Then if you look at this lineup, there's obviously an incredible need for guys who hit left-handed pitching. Alan Rodon and Spencer Horwitz are two guys in AAA that are probably at the point now where their next step developmentally is going to be through big league reps. So we're going to have both Alan and Spencer back at some point over spring training. I've also reached out to Damiano Parmigiani. He has gotten that back to me. He as well. He's heading down to Florida on Friday, and I'm reaching out next week to kind of lock something in there. We also are going to sit down with Cheese. Chad Dallas is coming back on the show. He's progressed throughout the Blue Jays system over the last couple of years, ending the season with New Hampshire last year at AA, and his next step as a 22-year-old too is he probably had the biggest progress as a pitching prospect in the Blue Jays system. He went from, I think Scotty Mitchell had him ranked 46th in 2022, and he's up to the 12 hole right now. So
nice.
he's on the verge of breaking that top 10.
Right on the cusp.
So,
cool.
So we'll talk to Chad Dallas. He's also best buds with Ricky T. Not guaranteeing anything, but we might put the screws to Chad and see what he can do for us there.
There you go.
Anyways, we do have lots of interviews coming up there. Keep an eye out for them. Thank you very much, everybody. We always try to get your messages and your questions and comments on the mailbag. If you missed out this week, just try again. We'll do our best. Take care, everybody. Cheers.
Cheers.